Welcome to Crafting for Profit Live, episode 21. Today, we're diving into a topic that every small craft business owner needs to hear, and that is how to test your new products without breaking the bank. We all want to add new products to our lineup, right? Doing so might mean we need to invest money into those products. So, how can we find those new products in a smart way that doesn't waste a bunch of money? We're going to dive into that today.
And to help us navigate this, we are joined by John Modi, the founder of Makerflow, a company that is all about empowering businesses with quality supplies and resources. We love Makerflow. And he is sharing his experience today on launching new product ideas, staying true to your niche, and avoiding common pitfalls. So, John, can you introduce yourself?
Absolutely. My name is John Modi, and I've been in the personalization and customization industry for quite some time now. Actually, it's about 10 years. And we started MakerFlow not too long ago. And the entire idea of MakerFlow is to empower possibilities and empower you, the maker, by supplying what started with blanks and now onto other things. So we're all about empowering the maker community. Sweet, short and sweet.
Short and sweet. Angie, are you still there or are you frozen? Oh, I think we're having issues. We've had some technical difficulties getting started.
Can you hear me now?
There you are.
Yeah. Okay.
I can hear you now.
So
I don't know, Ange.
Okay. So John, can you tell us what Makerflow
for me?
Yeah, I can't see her, or I can't hear her either.
All right. I'm going to give John his first question then, even though it's Angie's question.
Why don't you just...
Yeah. I'll go ahead. And if you're in the audience today and you're chatting live, go ahead and let us know if you can hear Angie or if it's just on our end so that we can kind of troubleshoot this. So let's see. So John, can you start by telling us a little bit about yourself and Makerflow? You gave us that brief introduction, but how did you get started and what does Makerflow offer for small business owners?
Yeah, so I've actually not done many of these. So this is going to probably be my second or third time telling this story. And I love our beginning. So it's not only I, John, but there's my counterpart, which is Mark, and he's not, with us here at the moment. He's with us, but he's just not here. But yeah, Mark and I started quite some time ago. We actually met in college, and we did terrible at school, like our last 2 years, because we were trying to start a business like during college. And we actually ended up starting one of our first businesses where we were selling women's shoes out of his garage. Believe it or not, yeah, we thought it would be a great way to meet our future wife. And we were like, hey, we're going to sell these shoes that roll up and you put in your clutch when you go out to like the club or something like that. And then when you get tired of wearing the heels, you kind of, take your heels off and you wear these like rollable flats. And they're kind of a thing now. They're like in Macy's and everywhere now, but it's not ours, but it's the brands and stuff do it. But that's kind of what we started with. And this was eons ago. This is when we were in college, like 15 years ago. And that's kind of when Mark and I met. But I would say that was when those micro businesses in the garages were really like starting up. It was this new thing where everyone was starting to do it. And one thing led to the other. And I'm not going to go over, 15 years of history, but at the end of the day, what ended up happening was we started Makerflow, and it was still in Mark's garage because we were a garage business and we just had not scaled with any of our businesses. The shoe business kind of fell off, and we happened to find out that in our space, in the personalization industry, one of the biggest things that was lacking for years was a unique supplier. And Makerflow was one of the first ones that came onto the scene 5 years ago that really, brought in those unique products that weren't the everyday same products. So even in, like, for example, when we introduced our tumblers, we tried to make sure that, hey, we did something different with it. We did something new with it. And I think you have one of our products that, you'll show later. And that's kind of what I mean. And we try to enhance products as much as we can, whether it's the packaging, whether it's this, whether it's that. We try to do something different to bring something new to the market and to the maker. So, everyone's not selling the same thing. But yeah, we started about 4 or 5 years ago. It was out of the garage. Not only the garage, once we started growing, we ended up getting into storage units, which was such a pain because we had like Mark's garage. Then we kind of took over his kitchen. We took his living room. His ping pong table became the shipping table. His one bedroom became another room for, our packing and shipping guy. And then eventually the city caught up to us, and the city came to us they sent Mark a letter and told him, we're going to fine you $10,000 and we're going to put you in jail if you don't leave. And so they kicked us out of the house, believe it or not.
Gosh.
Yeah, they came after us like hard. And at the end of the day, it ended up being that majority of Mark's neighbors turned into spies because they were trying to figure out what we were doing. And they started complaining and, maybe it got a little bit out of hand. But I mean, we started out of the garage. I think a lot of makers can kind of relate to that, and it's a struggle. Nobody teaches you how to, get a warehouse or, how to do this. They don't teach you right out of school. And so it's intimidating taking the next step. So, but yeah, that's sort of like what our start was. And if I talk about today, we've learned a lot. We have learned a lot, right? And I was trying, as I'm talking, I'm trying to see one statement that I can make of who MakerFlow is today. And this is kind of what I came up with. So MakerFlow went from selling blanks to makers, right? That's what MakerFlow, that's how we started. We're like, here's a product, we're going to sell it to makers, right? And it's now turning into, especially 2025, we're turning and pivoting into helping makers with their business with all kinds of things, from products to building websites to getting tutorials, making guides, blogs, innovation, all kinds of things. And we're leading with that, hoping that we eventually sell a blank. So that's the new MakerFlow, is we come in guns blazing, really leaning into our motto, which is empowering possibilities. And if that sells a blank, then it sells a blank. So that's what we're excited about.
Yeah, I think that's really great obviously you guys want to sell blanks, you're a business, but I do like that you guys are kind of pivoting toward basically our audience here. You're pivoting toward these small business owners who need more support, because a lot of times we're just going at, it's the same reason we created this podcast, right? Like people are going at this by themselves, and we just are trying to help guide them along the way.
Absolutely.
All right. Are you there, Angie?
No, am I here?
I hear you.
You're here.
Can you see me?
Oh, I can see you, but you're really behind in the like your voice and your mouth.
Do you want me to ask a question so we can at least use it for the podcast?
Sure, let's do that.
Okay, so which question are we on?
We're on Corey question number 2.
Thank you. Okay, so John, what are some low-cost ways small businesses can test out new product ideas before committing to a full launch?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. When we were talking about doing this podcast, I was thinking to myself, this is going to be a pretty clear-cut podcast. And then I think I emailed you guys and asked if we can make it 2 to 3 hours long. So as we're starting into this, do realize that there's a lot to this topic. So I'm going to do my best to talk fast and talk about a lot of things, and Corey, stop me if I'm going too fast, or if you're like, stop, expand on that a little bit. So okay. As I was thinking about this, there's a lot of things that I'm going to say, and you're going to be like, well, we know that, right? But the key to all this is consistency. And that's what I've sort of learned about, being in business for a little bit now. So I'm going to point out a few things on what are some low-cost way that small businesses can test out new products. One of the things that we do at MakerFlow is, we have our group on social media. We have our own private group. We have about 45,000 people on there. But aside from that, we have a pretty extensive email list. We have like lists in various platforms, and we do a lot of polling and we do a lot of surveys. I think that is so underrated. And I think small businesses need to step out of their comfort zone and ask. I say this to so many businesses: do not fear asking. Just ask the question. Just ask what you're looking for, because a lot of people want to be part of your journey, right? And a lot of people want to be part of what you're doing, especially when they're excited. So don't feel any which way of just asking, okay, what do you think about this? Hey, I'm thinking to introduce this product. Like, what are your thoughts? I do it all the time. We work with influencers. We work with like even Corey and Andrew with you guys, and I'm shameless. I'll just be like, hey, here's the product. What do you guys think? How can we make it better? What can we do? And you might have some input, you might not, but I ask, and so many times everyone's just excited to be part of the journey. And so I think, that definitely should be one of the things that small businesses, especially whether it's family, whether it's friends, whoever, just ask. And I think that's probably like one of my top things. You know, family friends is always great. I am very skeptical on family friends because a lot of the family or friends that love you will always be like, "This is fantastic," you know, and so it's like, yeah, mom, but like be real, like tell me really, you know. And so family and friends for me is like it depends on family and friends, you know. Um, but one thing I have learned over the years with family and friends is I'll just give them the product and be like, hey, just use it. And you have to give me feedback. And what I do is I end up seeing like, are they posting about it? Are they actually using it? Is it part of their life? And I collect data in other ways than actually getting it from them. So for me, it tells me a lot when I give a product and they're like using it without me telling them. And I'm like, okay, they like using it. And then I might just go to them and say, hey, what do you like about it? And then I'll get more information. And I think that plays a lot into, you know, testing new products before committing fully, because then you actually get to see what features people love and do they like using the product. Okay, if they're using a Yeti, but now they're using the tumbler that you gave them and they're using it consistently, now you know, like, oh, there's something there, you know. So it gives you more data than you might think. I think limited time offers and pre-sales are great ways to do it. You know, posting those on your social media, to your email list, whoever it may be, it's a great way, especially a pre-sale, to get an idea, as long as you give clear instructions on the pre-sale. So you got to let them know, like, hey, we're doing a pre-sale. You might not get the product for 2 months, but you know, this is what it is. And, you know, here's your buy-in, here's your discount. You know, first 200 people get this. You know, we're looking for feedback. We're looking for this. We're looking for that. And you can get a really good idea, like, oh, wow, I put a pre-sale for 500 or 200 or 50 or 10 and they sold out. So it might be a good product. You know, I think that's another good way. But before I take too much time, I'm going to drill through a few more without explaining them. Sending samples to businesses. Love doing that. You can get very quick feedback. If you get a good conversion rate and businesses call and say, hey, this is great, you know it's going to be a good product. Testing at craft fair and trade shows, another great place. You get a lot of foot traffic that's cold, people that don't know you. So you can test a lot of new things and put it in people's hands. Another different way is checking Amazon Handmade and Etsy. If you don't know the strategy, go on those platforms, you know, search certain keywords, search the product you're trying to sell, and try to see if that comes up as a top product. If it does, then go to that specific listing and go to the reviews and read the reviews on the product. This is a great way to see what's missing in the product, what's bad about the product, what might be good about the product, and if it's a good product for you to basically introduce without committing too much of it, or maybe committing to it if you know it's a good product. A lot of and one of the last things I have here is again the question, because I've spoken a lot, but the question was, what are some good ways a small business can test out new product ideas before committing? Make sure that whatever product it is, that you have a good supplier. I cannot tell you how important that is. I cannot tell you how many people come to me and tell me that, hey, I found this product. It's a home run product. I sold like 100 of these, but Amazon sold out. Like, or, hey, I got this and Makerflow sold out. It happens. And I got this and this person sold out. So if you know that you're going for a product, you're really pushing it hard, it's not a bad idea to contact the supplier and be like, hey, do you have enough inventory? What does your inventory look like? What does your forecast look like? I say that, be a little shameless. It's okay. You know,
Yeah.
It's a betterment for yourself a little bit. And it's actually good for the supplier as well, because if they know you're going to clear them out, as a supplier myself, it really hurts the rest of the community you're trying to support. So it kind of works both ways in that. So suppliers actually appreciate it when someone comes and says, hey, we're gonna be ordering a ton of this. How can we work together to, you know, make it better? So but yeah, I would say that before you really commit to find a good supplier. And that's it.
I think that last one's actually really important, because we were talking about this before we hopped on here, that I was doing rainbow plated tumblers, and they were just starting to get really popular. I think they're still starting to get really popular. They were really difficult for me to source. And I ended up sourcing them from some random website where I was like, please don't take my money. And they came, but it took like 3 weeks, you know, because they were probably being shipped from overseas, even though it said US warehouse. I don't know. It was very confusing. And so like I haven't reordered because I don't know how quickly I'm going to get them. You know, I only have so many craft fairs left this year. So it was one of those things where I'm like, I'm not going to probably do too many more of these until I find a supplier that can keep up with my need, and it's not going to take 3 weeks to get the
Probably
product to
should.
me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's funny because based on that question, once you do commit, right, this happens so much. Once you do commit, oftentimes, and when you hit a product is always when you can't find the product. That is
So true.
exactly when it happens. That's when you learn that lesson, right? So I think
Yes.
that's definitely a big one. I actually, yeah, that's a good way to end that question. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to take Angie's next question. How can small businesses stay focused in their niche while exploring new trends and products? So, like, we're going to want to talk about we talk a lot about how each handmade crafter should at some point find their niche. They need to have like a particular person that they're selling to, that's, the products are going to speak to them, instead of having what might look like a garage sale full of stuff on their, craft show table. So how do you stay in that niche?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. And the way I would answer this question is, being the supplier that we are, I talk to a lot of small businesses. I talk to a lot of influencers. I talk to a lot of people, and squirreling is probably the number one problem we all have. We all need like a therapist for how not to squirrel when we're crafting, because you want to do absolutely everything, right? And oftentimes, if you're in your craft room right now watching this, you're gonna look around and go like, "Oh my God, I do a lot of things," and it's like, and it's exciting because when you see something new, and we could probably blame Corey and Angie for a lot of this stuff. They're the ones that get us into it, right? Because they make it look so easy and fun. But you it's fun. It's easy. But there is a way to sort of harness it all in. And I think the way it starts here, and again, you might think like, well, I know this, but this is important. And the most important part about this is you have to know your core. You have to know your core values, and you have to make sure whatever you do, you stay close to them. And I think that's the most important part. And what I mean by that is, let's say that you are a small business that caters to making, let's say you're catering to real estate agents, and you're into laser engraving, and you're laser engraving cutting boards, and you're laser engraving charcuterie boards, right? And all of a sudden Taylor Swift comes along and her Taylor Swift bracelets just take off. And you're like, oh my gosh, I just heard about this one lady that made, $100,000 on Taylor Swift bracelets. Well, you need to know what your core values are and what customers you're catering to and what your niche is, because you might introduce those and nothing may happen. And here you go, spending hundreds and thousands of dollars on buying beads and, getting into classes and spending your time and your resources, and you're getting into things that, you shouldn't be getting into. Now, if there's a way you could tie that into your core and the values of what you are, who you are as a crafter in a business, then it makes a lot of sense. Then your customers or the potential people you're giving it to, it'll align with them as well. But I feel like, in our industry and for a lot of the crafters, a lot of them don't know the core. They don't know their values or why they might be doing it. And that's where, we really kind of just go out of whack.
Yeah. Hold on. I want to interrupt you there because I can actually speak directly to this.
Okay.
So I have my small business chapter and craft studio, and I make book themed crafts, right? And so one of the things I did that first was I created a book stack of Taylor Swift album titles, right? So it looks like a stack of books, but it's her album titles, and it has like a disco ball on top. It's very cute. It's one of my best sellers. And it's one of those things where I was like, okay, I know that there is a lot of overlap between book readers and Taylor Swift fans, especially book readers in my niche, right? Because it's like we're reading romance, we're reading romantasy, fantasy, there's a lot of overlap. And so I thought for the recent craft fairs that I did for the holidays, hey, I'm going to add Taylor Swift bracelets. But I was like, I have to make them bookish. And so I pulled different phrases from, different books. So, there was one that said Valaris from A Court of Thorns and Roses. And there were some that just said bookworm and bookish or in my reading era and those sorts of things. And they've done pretty well. They did pretty well at the craft fairs. And that's because I could figure out how to combine that trending Taylor Swift with the bookish audience. And so I think there has to be a connection though, because if I was just selling Taylor Swift bracelets that had her albums on them, yeah, maybe I would have sold some because Taylor Swift fans are everywhere, but they didn't fit into my niche in the same way as they did once I made them bookish.
Yes. And do you see how you just spoke about it? You're so bought into it, because which was going to be my next point, because what you did was you adapted to the trend instead of adopting it.
Yeah.
Okay. And that is, I feel like we need to make shirts or signage that people need to put in their craft room. Make sure you adapt and you don't adopt, because what you did was you blended your core and your values and you adapted to a trend instead of just completely going like, oh, I'm making that exact same bracelet and that's what I'm selling. But just the way you spoke about it goes to show that you were committed to it completely because you adapted it to your core values. And I think that's the lesson to be learned here. And I mean, I don't really, that's a great way to, I think, finish off that question, because that's it. You basically hit the nail on the head there.
Yeah, I've talked about trends some on my YouTube channel, and I really think it's important that you like add trends into what you're already doing. Like you're saying, like you are, you don't want to just completely pivot and change course to go after a trend, because a trend is a trend for a reason. Trends don't last, right? After a while, they become passé or they become old, and all of a sudden you're like, why did we paint everything millennial gray? And so it's like one of those things where you're like, you want to stick to your core, what you're doing. And then, as you see trends that come along, like for me, another big trend right now is ghosts. There are ghosts everywhere, right? Like on t-shirts and ghosts are everywhere. And even after Halloween, Christmas ghosts everywhere. And so I feel like ghosts are really trendy, but for me, it has to be like a ghost reading a book. Because and they exist, they're everywhere. So it's like one of those things where it's like I can't just put a ghost on something because it's trendy, but I can put a ghost with a book on something and it will work really well.
Oh, I didn't know that, but that's very intriguing and very on point. It makes complete sense.
All right.
Oh,
so
I'll add one more thing. As fast as we're ready to adopt a trend, right? A really popular saying that we like is to learn and unlearn. And the same way, if you adopt a trend, make sure you know when to drop it as well.
Absolutely.
Don't let it take over everything that you do, because it'll ruin you if you go too deep into it. So make sure you know when to drop it as well. So
I think that's really true, because there's still people who are trying to capitalize on trends that have not been trendy for 5 or 10 years. And you see that quite a bit.
Yeah.
And so, so Angie went and switched she like literally walked from her studio back to her house to see if she could sign on here with better internet. So we're going to see if we can get Angie back. Maybe. Yes.
Okay. I'm back. Is it
all right?
Okay?
I think we're good. Yeah. It looks a lot better.
Okay. All right. I have no idea where we are.
So that's okay. We just finished up Angie question number 3. So you're back to Corey.
Okay. All right. So John, what role does customer feedback play in deciding whether a new product is worth pursuing, and how can businesses effectively gather it?
Yeah. These are such loaded questions you guys have. Customer feedback, I mean, is integral, and to some point, it's the most important thing. I mean, you're selling a product to your customer. I think feedback today is the most important thing you can get. I always tell a lot of businesses that are starting out, they basically come to me and they say, "Hey, John, like you have this product, but I don't like it." And I'm like, "Well, let me ask you, are you going to be buying it?" And he's like, "No, I'm selling it." I'm like, "Well, I mean, I don't mean to sound rude, but at that point, it doesn't matter." And that because you're selling it to your customer, the feedback of your customer is the most important thing. You might have a product that you don't like at all, but you sell hundreds of them. Are you going to still sell them? And they're like, well, I mean, yeah, if the customer buys them, I'm like, well, then it's very, very important. And one of the first things that it helps us with is by, validating the demand. You talk to your customers and get their feedback, and depending on their feedback, they'll either validate the demand and let you know like, hey, this is a great product to introduce, or they might save you. They might even say like, hey, like, we've tried this product and this and this and this is not very good. To give you guys a very good example, when we initially started Makerflow, we were getting products and they were looking a lot like the existing company's products. And so one of the big things that we do, our packaging is very important to us. And we realized that from the get-go. One was for efficiency, which is for another day and time. But the second thing was that we bring a little bit more color. We bring a little bit more retail into it, excitement into it. It's not like you're buying our product and it's like, oh, it's all white, or hey, it's all brown packaging. No, you get it and it's colorful. Hopefully it brings a smile to you. Hopefully it brings a little bit of excitement to you. Hopefully it makes your day a little bit. That's how far and deep we think. And the reason is because we talk to our customers. So that validation or the invalidation of, hey, that product's not good, make it better. I mean, I would say that's what shaped our business and what's made it, so good for us. And I would say that anyone that's looking, I think that's one of the most important things. And please listen to your, customers. It'll make you, and it's a great thing, and they want to help you, like I talked about earlier. But other ways to see, if the product is worth pursuing, is minimizing your inventory missteps. I think it's a really, really big one. Listening to your customers, it's kind of what we were talking about earlier. It's going to give you a really good idea, especially if you have a big group of customers, whether it's 10, 20, 30 people that you ask or that you service, or whether it's in the real estate or this game or that game. Really getting that feedback from them is going to allow you to make sure that you don't buy too much of something. And that's a big, big issue that we run into, especially as small businesses, and especially in the next 2 weeks, because we are about to get slammed by at least 5,000 deals a day. And you want to go in there and go like, you know what, I know this product's going to work. I'm going to buy like 1,000 of these. And you end up getting those for a discount. And what you don't realize is that when Christmas is over, we have January, February, March, and April. And it's a weird time of the year. And now you're stuck with a bunch of inventory. You're out cash flow, which for all of us small businesses is very important, cash flow. And now you have a bunch of product left over that you don't know what to do with. So listen to your customer and what they want, and don't fall for the next 2 weeks. Only fall for it if you're validated, like, okay, yeah, I can use this. I have the business for it. I can do something with it. Because this is where if you make the wrong choice and stretch yourself too wide, you might be okay for 2-3 weeks, but you're gonna be in a world of hurt for the beginning of the year. So I think it's super important, to like listen to that customer, see what they want, get what they want, and really be as close to your core and your values as possible, so you don't have that crazy misstep.
Yeah, I think one thing that you had me thinking about is cash flow. Obviously, probably number one priority for small businesses is making sure you can pay for your bills and the things you have.
Yeah.
But most of our crafters, including myself, we're not working with a lot of space. I don't have a warehouse, right? So every time I get something new into this space, which is larger than a lot of people's space, I have to find a place to put it.
Yep.
And so I was telling you that I was working with those rainbow plated tumblers that I got, and the 20-ounce ones worked great. I've been selling them. Wonderful. I have probably still 20 something 40-ounce tumbler boxes of the larger tumblers, and I can't get them to work right. Like I cannot get them to engrave right, which means that now I have just 20. I mean, these are not small boxes for not a very, you know what I mean? It's like,
oh no.
So I didn't, but because like we were talking about, I could only find them from this one buyer, and they only came in like a box of 30 or whatever. It was one of those things where it was like, okay, well, I'm going to take the risk, and the risk has not paid off for me. And I really need to go back and keep testing them and see if I can make them work, because they are taking up quite a bit of space in here, and it's important.
Absolutely.
So what I was thinking about is like stocking up makes you think that you're going to have a higher profit margin, right? So I'm going to buy these blanks at a lower price, and my profit margin is going to be more. But what tends to happen is we overbuy, and then later on we're like, I'm going to discount these so I can sell them and so I can get them out of inventory. And then that profit margin that you thought you were saving on buying them in bulk all goes away. So that's what I was going to say about stocking up in the next couple of weeks, is think about that just a second, because if you just discount it later, the profit margin that you thought you added is just going to go away.
Yeah. And then another thing, if we keep going with that thought process, Angie, is that in a way, you're not invalidating, but you're kind of hurting your brand and your future business, because now all of a sudden you've gotten into discounting, and now people, all of a sudden you're training them like, oh my gosh, if I just wait after a certain holiday period, I'm not going to order. Like I'll just wait, and I know I'm going to get a massive discount, right? Yeah. And so the last thing you want to get into is become this business that's buying too much because there's a deal. Now that you're discounting it, people are always going to wait for the discount. Right. And as a business that has sort of scaled, we're always worried about that. People are always waiting for the sale. And it's happening now. People are like, well, I'm just waiting for Black Friday because I know you guys are going to have Black Friday sales. And it's like, and so from a real life experience, it happens, and your brand gets hurt a little bit, and you want to save yourself there as much as possible. by, again, staying close to your core, staying close to your value, and always remembering that opportunities are abound. If you miss the rainbow tumbler opportunity, someone's gonna come out with a LED, glow in the dark waterfall tumbler tomorrow, and that opportunity will come back to you. So you'll make that money up some other time, right? But don't get caught up in something for a week or two and completely ruin something that you might have that's good, and sort of can have a really good future.
I think too, I want to just mention one other thing that you mentioned is that we are moving in after Christmas. We're moving into the slowest time of the year for most businesses. That first quarter and even April are rough. I always
Yes.
joke it as does Corey need to become a barista time of year? I've said that over the last 10 years since I've been doing this, because it's always things go from basically 100 to 0.
Yeah.
And as a small business owner, that is scary and it hurts in the pocketbook. And so I just wanted to give everybody some encouragement that basically all businesses deal with the Q1 problem.
Yeah. And I mean, not to talk too much about it, but we are already talking about it. Like Makerflow, we're talking about that. Like, okay, what about January, February, March, April? We've been talking about it for the last 2 months.
Yeah.
Because that is something, it's not only small businesses, but even I mean, I consider us as a small business as well, but we deal with it as well, because if small businesses aren't getting orders, no one's buying blanks.
Yep.
So, we have staff, we have all these folks that work full time. It's like, what do you do with that? So yes, we all struggle with it. It's a massive thing. And the worst thing for me is to walk out in the warehouse. And if I make some of these mistakes myself, it's like, well, here's my cash flow. It's sitting in corrugated boxes with this product that I bought too much of because I thought it was going to sell, right? So we deal with the same thing. And so I totally feel it.
All right. Do we want to do our commercial break now?
Let's do our commercial break.
Okay. So speaking of Black Friday and all the things, if you're looking to buy a heat press during this time, Black Friday, any other holiday sales, Corey and I have relaunched our in-depth review course called Heat Press Roadmap. We go through a bunch of different heat presses, talk about the pros, cons of each one, and we show you how it works with a project. And right now we've added 9 new heat presses, and I think that makes 26 heat presses.
26 heat presses. It includes Makerflow's little 5x7 heat press as well.
Yes. So if you've been looking for a small 5x7 handheld press, you're going to want to see that video with Heat Press Roadmap.
You're sad because Cricut discontinued their small easy press. Makerflow has the answer for you.
You got you.
So we just really want to help you make the best choice for your needs, your space, and your budget. Because again, we don't want you spending money on products that are not going to work in your space for what you need them for the money that you have. So you can grab Heat Press Roadmap at heatpressroadmap.com, and we have it on sale for now. So if you're really looking for something to help you make those decisions, and you will get any future updates. So each year, Angie and I are just going to add whatever heat presses we've managed to collect in a year, because you guys know that we do heat press reviews all the time. So any new heat presses that we get, we add to Heat Press Roadmap, and you'll get all the new ones as well.
So pick it up if you are going to be shopping for Black Friday and you want our opinion on all the heat presses, like literally all of them.
It's a lot of heat presses. All right. I'm going to move on to Angie question 5. We're just switching who we are today. So what are some red flags, John, that indicate a small business is overstretching itself when it's expanding its product line?
Yeah. I think I kind of spoke to this and alluded to this one point, but I think this is probably the biggest red flag. It's what I ended it before commercial break, which was, if you walk out there and you see those corrugated boxes that are stacked up, so excess inventory, or another issue actually, excess inventory is one of the biggest issues. If you have too much of something, you got to figure out what to do with it, whether you destash it, which that's why there are so many big destash groups on Facebook, because, people have too much and they end up on there and they try to get rid of it. So I think that's probably one of the biggest red flags as far as whether you're overstretched in expanding your product line. Another big thing, if your inventory management is not there, we still don't have our inventory management 100% at Makerflow. We're still working on it. So like if you're a small business and you're stressed out about it, it's something definitely that you need to watch out for. But I just want you to know that, a lot of us deal with inventory issues. It's a massive problem, and it's a tough one to control. But if you're not doing inventory and you're like, John, I have no idea what inventory I have, then another great place to look is cash flow. So if you go into your bank account and you're like, I can never catch up with cash. I never have cash in the bank. It's probably a signal that, either your expenses are high, or if you have this garage full of products, well, that's where it is. It's in those excess products. And a lot of times when we're starting new businesses and we're trying to catch trends, we do tend to overpurchase. It just happens. And again, it's not you, it's everybody. We're just working here to try to figure out how to lessen that blow as much as possible. And so I want people to know that too, because I think people get very stressed about it, but it's a lot of people, and it's quite rampant. Like a lot of us don't know. They don't teach us how to do inventory management. Another really good sign of overstretching yourself. There's multiple ways to overstretch yourself. Another good one is if other parts of your business are struggling. So let's say if you have your core business, and let's say if you get a trend, if you get something else in, and it just starts blowing up, and you start neglecting everything else. Okay, that is a thing as well, because you're completely walking away from what your core is. And all of a sudden you're overstretching yourself with this new product. And this is kind of the other way of thinking about it. You're doing so good that you're messing up what your core value of your business is. And remember, the core of your business is what's going to always come back. And for this trend, if you mess that up, that trend goes away. All of a sudden you neglected your core. All of a sudden you're in shambles, right? So you have to look at it from the other perspective too. It's not just, oh, I bought, too much inventory to catch a trend. But if you catch a trend too well as well, you need to make sure that your core is good and you know what's happening with that core. So I think the flip side of that is important to kind of understand as well. And make sure that, whatever trend you're catching, whatever this new inventory you're getting into, it doesn't change your entire business unless that's what you mean it to do. I think that's so important, because, and we really saw it with tumblers. When tumblers came on the scene, this was like 6-7 years ago, there were so many people that, had a business and they got into tumblers. Tumblers had it had a great upswing, and, COVID helped it out that much more. And people completely decided to let go of what they were doing before. Everyone got into tumblers. Well, now what happens? It's saturated, right? A lot of people are doing it. And a lot of those people that had core businesses left it behind for tumblers, and now they're suffering in both fronts. And so I think that question from both sides, that's kind of how I'd like to approach that. Yeah.
I feel like you're completely right on the neglecting part of your business, because I've seen people do that so often, like catching a trend. I've never really thought about it before, but I think another thing that if you try and hold on to that trend too long, right? So if we mentioned this a little bit before, but you may also have a red flag here if you're trying to make the same kind of tumbler still work in a saturated market, instead of being like, okay, I'm going to keep with a small amount of tumblers because I still have those clients. However, I am going to start looking at my core and what else I can make that is going to, appeal to the same person that's going to buy the tumbler. Yeah. But you really do need to know when to let go.
Yes, 100%. 100%.
Yeah, and there are so many. Every craft fair has so many tumblers. I'm glad you brought that up. There are so many tumblers out there. Facebook is full of them. But we talk about finding your niche a lot, and I feel like this kind of folds into that. Once you find that niche, whatever it is, even if you want to jump on the trend, either incorporate it into your niche product. So whatever, like you're going to sell things for dogs, then you're going to add dog tumblers maybe. But don't just completely go away from what is your customers love about you, because you already have that core base that loves your dog products. So adding tumblers for dog lovers might make sense, but adding all the tumblers might not make sense.
Yeah, I sell tumblers, but I sell them with book images on them, and they sell because people aren't necessarily looking for the tumbler. They're looking for something cute and bookish. And the tumbler kind of fits that need for a gift or for something that they might want, versus just going to a table that has tumblers for every single person out there.
100%.
All right.
All right, next question is mine. Okay, how can small businesses balance the excitement of innovation with the risk of investing in products that might not sell? And it is exciting. So,
Yeah. I think I can go back to something that, like the Taylor Swift thing. I mean, I think that was so on point. And Corey, since you talked about it as well, you know, the excitement of innovation, which I'm assuming that means excitement of new product, of doing something new, right? I think it needs to be as close to your core as possible. I think that's like such a big lesson to learn. And I think that's one big lesson I've learned in the last, 10, 15 years is like, just stick to your core. And in the last 10, 15 years, there have been trends, crazy trends in the supply thing that we've seen. It was first tumblers, then it was cutting boards, then cutting boards that went out of the way. Now, believe it or not, it's charcuterie boards.
Yep.
At one point, it was watch boxes. Believe it or not, it was crazy. But what I realized is they come and go. There'll be a new trend tomorrow, right? But we have to stick to our core. And our core value is we supply a good product that you have all the resources to make a successful product in your business. And as long as we do that with every product we provide, then every product should be successful for us. So if we catch a trend, great. If we don't catch a trend, it's okay. But as long as we follow that core model at MakerFlow, then we know that we've done our job to service you. And again, going back to what I'd said about consistency, as long as you're doing consistently, it's going to eventually not even become a trend. We want to eventually become the trendsetter. And that's a whole another thing. You know, when you get to that point is where we're trying to get is like, hey, you know that we're consistent with this. And then when you innovate, right? Then when you innovate, when you do something different, make something different, I know I eliminate the risk because I know that, hey, if I innovate, if I stick to my core and I have my customer base, I can service them. I can accurately predict what quantity of product I'm getting. So at MakerFlow, that's kind of how we do it. If I was a smaller business, just make sure you know your customer base, make sure you know who you're servicing, and you can kind of follow this similar thing. And then when Corey, you come out with a product, it's not like, what does Corey have? It's more like, oh my God, what does Corey have that I need right now? Right. And it's kind of a similar question or a similar, excitement, but you're getting your customers so excited, they're just going to buy anything you have. And it just completely changes the dynamic. So yeah.
I think too, that one of the things we haven't talked about is, sorry, my brain just like went blank. We haven't talked about testing out lower priced products and testing out them in smaller batches, right? So for these last craft fairs that I did, I was like, I just need more small products because I know that everybody is watching their budget right now. We just don't know what next year's going to look like. So everybody is like, okay, I can't spend as much maybe on holiday gifting, but I still need stocking stuffers. So I went through I was like, what else can I make that is actually lower priced? And maybe I can sell more lower priced items, which is, not necessarily the best strategy for everybody. But for me, I was like, okay, if somebody has like a bookish neighbor or a coworker, or they want to buy like little gifts for their entire book club, that sort of thing. And I was like, what can I do that's not going to cost a lot of money? So I ended up doing a lot of printing, like just printing and laminating. So I ended up with folding bookmarks and regular bookmarks and things like that I was selling for like $3 to $5. And I sold a lot of them. And I think it's because people are looking for those kind of low cost stocking stuffer kind of things at this time of year. But it can work all year where you're like, okay, I want to add something new, but I don't have a huge amount of cash to spend. So you can go looking for maybe some trendy but lower priced products to start with and just see if like your audience is interested in new things in general. And anytime I make something new, I get excited about it. And that's kind of the hard part where I'm like, oh my God, I'm so excited about this. I want to make 1 million of them. But I'm like, Corey, back up. You need to make sure that your audience wants it first. And I think starting with lower cost options is a way to do that as well.
Yeah, I think, that's definitely a great way to do it. A couple of other quick things. One thing that we're really pushing right now is for a lot of small business, especially for craft fairs, is live crafting. So basically doing quick crafts that are live, and whether you're doing it or whether you're having the customer do it, it's been wildly successful. So we've tested it in markets, and it's like people love coming and making their own tumbler. Or with UV resin, we actually have people come and say, hey, we're going to make this necklace with you. We're going to teach you how to do the craft. And they actually love coming in and they pay for the necklace and they see like, this is what it looks like, but they'll actually make it in the booth. And what that essentially does is it's bringing excitement, movement, but at the same time, it's eliminating the need for finished goods, which is massive because we don't have inventory of finished goods. Because I think a lot of us that are, let's say, doing fairs and selling tumblers, I'll stick to that. You have to decide what designs to do. And once you slap those designs, let's say you sublimate designs on a tumbler and you have 100 of them, well, if 80 don't sell, guess who's taking those 80 back to the next craft show, right? And so you have to keep selling them until you discount them. So, try new things with innovation. Try live sublimation. If you're already doing sublimation, take your machine with you and see how you can maybe at the trade show selling the tumblers for $20 and they're already made, sell them for $30 and they send you a picture and you make them the tumbler right there. Earn a little bit more margin, sell a little less of the tumbler, and that works so well for someone who sublimates because you're not stuck with inventory. Being stuck with the blank inventory is a little bit better than being stuck with, crafted inventory.
Absolutely.
So it's something cool that we've tested in the past.
Yeah, we've
Like
mentioned.
You might be able to do that at a craft fair, like your small little MakerFlow heat press with a small blank, and you could kind of have them sort of sublimate their own or sublimate on site even.
Yeah,
so you're
like
not carrying
ornaments or keychains, bookmarks.
I was literally thinking ornaments, because if you have like a holiday market this time of year, you wouldn't want to make a whole lot of ornaments because you're literally going to carry them for a whole year if you don't sell them. So making them on site is a great option.
That's really fun.
Absolutely.
All right. Can you share a success story where testing a new product helped a small business thrive, or maybe a cautionary tale where testing was skipped and it led to challenges? We've talked a little bit about things, but do you have anything in particular?
I think if you're specifically looking for, I think, I could speak to products really at MakerFlow. I hear a lot of stories. And I think there's a couple of stories here I can pull out. So, as far as testing a new product, helping a small business thrive, there's a business on Etsy right now that we have this product on our website that's called Build a Bundle. And basically it allows you to build sort of like a case of 25, and you can mix and match a bunch of different things. And it allows you to basically test a lot of products without committing to a lot, and it gives you a discount and is really well priced. And the only reason I bring that up is because it feeds into this entire podcast, because it's like, how do you buy a little bit but not spend too much? And we're a supplier that allows you to kind of build that bundle, try a few new things. And the reason why that's important is because we actually recently had a business who wanted to sell whiskey decanter sets. But the problem with the whiskey decanter sets is there's a lot of different products that come with it. So you have to get the wood box, you have to get the whiskey glasses, the decanters, and the foam, the insert. It's a lot of different things. Well, they used the Build a Bundle, and they not only got the whiskey decanter set, but they got the marble charcuterie board, the spatula, and a few other things. And what ended up happening was they got all these things, and the first thing was oh my God, why did I get so many things? But they were able to get one of a little bit of everything, and to kind of slowly keep testing it. Well, what ended up happening was that as they were testing and they were adding, people were inquiring and buying. And because they stuck to their core and ordered products that they sell, which was engraving products, they were able to make everything successful. And now they're ordering it by the case. So I think, that would be one really good, success story. The other success story, and this one is a really good one. We are always trying to introduce new products, and they're not the everyday products you might see. So we have a lot of problem getting our products out there, because it's not like you're looking for 11-piece charcuterie board, or you're looking for a hand serve. It's not like an everyday product, because we try to introduce new stuff, just like our 40s. The concept of the 40s, it's not out there. No one's out there on Google searching about our 40s, right? It's if you see it or you know it, then you know it. We had this one person that took one of our newer serving boards that we had, and they were like, oh, this is new, this is kind of cool. And they took it to market, and they took it to market so hard, and this is kind of something what I was talking about earlier, that they wiped our entire inventory in a matter of 3 months after introducing it. So it is very possible to do it, right? And you have to find the right supplier. You have to find, the right method, which is try small quantities, test it in various markets, different markets, slowly build your inventory and work with the supplier. And like you could get a really good process where if you know your suppliers well, then you don't have to be overextended, because you could just contact them and be like, hey, I need a small quantity. Can you match this price? Can you do this? Can you do that? And sometimes we're more than willing to help you out. And especially, when we have a relationship, and that's another big thing, knowing and having a relationship with your supplier massively helps in this endeavor of not having too much inventory, because we're willing to work with you, and then and I know I have more success stories, but I won't inundate you with a lot of crazy stuff like that. And the only bad story, which there's not one, there's a lot, of the next 2 weeks. There's tons, where people will come and it'll be their first time, and they'll be like, oh my God, the price looks so good. I've never introduced this product. They'll buy a ton of stuff and they get stuck with it. Then they want to process returns. Then they have a bad experience, and the worst part, especially about the next 2 weeks, as exciting it is for a business that, hey, we're going to make sales, people are going to come. The worst part is, especially for us, and I know it happens in the next 2 to 3 weeks, is that, hey, Christmas is coming. Like, I bought too much. Can I return it? I need to buy gifts. And that's really heartbreaking. So please don't get yourself into a situation like that, So I guess, yeah, a lot of good, a lot of bad, and a lot of experience with it.
I think that's just, I hadn't really thought about this time of year. And I mean, I'm looking forward to Black Friday because now I know what will sell and I can buy those things, right?
Yeah.
But it's not the time to experiment. It's not the time to take risks. It's the time to stock up on what the supplies, the products, anything that that you can sell. Sure, buy it. Make sure it's not like the trendiest thing ever, that might not be trendy in January, but like, if you can sell it, now's the time to get a deal. However, this is not the time to decide I'm going to buy 1,000 tumblers because I think I can sell them because they're awesome or whatever.
100%. 100%.
But I do think your build-a-bundle is a great example because it goes all year round. So you don't have to wait for Black Friday, and you can do that any time of the year with those things. Like, I just want to experiment with these 4 things. I'm going to go to the Makerflow website. I'm going to build a bundle, and I'm going to experiment with them no matter what time of year it is. And then maybe you wait for a sale to stock up later once you've proven that product.
Yeah, and this goes back to the other question, Angie. I think you were flying through some tough weather, but let's call it that. But Corey had asked me is, with the build a bundle, it really, it really gives you the opportunity to, really test a lot of new things, and don't fall into the trap of getting too much inventory of something that you don't sell. Like, don't do it. You might hit it once, but you might not hit it the 8 other times. And it just, how is that doesn't make it profitable then,
Yeah. I mean, one of the things we had talked about was with these rainbow plated tumblers that I had purchased from this random website, it came with 5 black, 5 white, 5 yellow, 5 blue, and 5 pink, right?
Yeah.
These are the colors that it came with. And I got 5 of each, and the black and the white sold like that.
Yeah.
And now I have 15 tumblers, a few of which have sold, but are selling at a much, much slower rate. So I could, in theory, if you sold this product, I could build a bundle where I got mostly black and white tumblers, but I still picked up pink and yellow and blue, depending on how much they sold, making it much more easy for me to not have to buy, a giant pack of, I still get 25 tumblers that I'm working with, but I know I can sell the black and white ones, and then I can have some other options for people. So I think that's another really great way to use the build a bundle.
100%. One other thing is, you can do the same thing. You get the most foot traffic in the next 2 weeks, so you can get 1 or 2 products and test them for a future thing as well. Keep that in mind. You're going to get a lot of foot traffic in the next couple of weeks, right? And so don't buy 1,000 units, buy 5 or buy 2, test it, see what people think, and see if that's something you want to introduce, And also one thing, the build a bundle came about, I didn't want to really pitch this, I didn't want to talk about this earlier, but it came about because of customer feedback. So we talked, there was a question about customer feedback and how important it is. It was very important. And the build a bundle, we're, I think, one of the only companies that offers it. The only reason it's there is because we got so much, we spent a year and a half talking to customers on what was important. And the build a bundle was one of the most important things to them. And so it came from customer validation, and it's been wildly popular. And people really love the build a bundle, especially when we come out with new products. We see it's used the most when we come out and introduce new products. So yeah, a lot of people are catching on to that.
Okay, so if you're joining us on YouTube and you are in the live chat, you can ask any last minute questions now. We're going to ask our last question to John. And so we want to know how MakerFlow supports small businesses in testing and scaling up new product ideas, and any tools, services you recommend for minimizing risks.
Okay, so one of the I appreciate the question. And it's again a loaded question because this is what the entire company is going towards, right? So there's a lot. Some real quick things is our blogs. We're getting deep into blogs, and we're writing some amazing blogs, amazing content that people can take advantage of. Everything from how to set up your booth for Christmas or for any kind of trade show, for events, what unique things you can bring into your business at a craft show, for example, to make it more unique than other crafters, or what you've been doing for the last 5-10 years. We're writing a lot of new ed stuff, writing about, a lot of AI stuff, how to navigate that. So there's a lot of blog stuff that we're writing. I would really explore people to go to our blogs and, check that out. It's a lot of new age stuff. But I think the 3 big things that we're working on, aside from blogs, tutorials, and things like that, we talked about the Build a Bundle. I think the Build a Bundle was innovative, and it's one of the coolest things we have that really allows you to order so much variety and not, be strapped for cash flow or inundated with inventory. Then the 20% off case discount is another big way that we're trying to keep things really easy. We got in the industry, everyone's doing these crazy tiered pricing and this and that, and we're like, you know what? Let's just cut the fat. And let's just make it super easy. You get the Build a Bundle or you get the case. There's no reason to make it more complicated than that. You don't need to climb a ladder. Like it's a short one. It's like more like a stool, but it's not this insane ladder where, okay, if you buy this much and sell this much and you get this percentage and this lifetime, and no, we're like, you know what? Let's make it simple. Small businesses have enough decisions to make in their life. Let's make things super, super easy for them to do. Another big thing that MakerFlow is going to be doing next year, I've kind of alluded to this a couple of times. We have a new initiative called the Leap that we're transitioning. It's more internal, but the Leap is what I kind of talked about initially, is really making MakerFlow more for the maker over the product and really providing them resources. Everything from, like I said, tutorials, everything from any question that we see asked a lot, how to make a template, giving right there on the product page, giving tutorials on how to use various softwares to take a template, use the template, and apply it in sublimation. And we want to have all that on the product page. And we're going to be working towards that next year. Why? Because we asked for feedback. We talked to our customers. We took surveys. And the number one thing that people were asking was, where do I get this stuff? And, how do I have access to this? And a lot of times, we tell them like, well, have you heard of Corey and Angie? Have you heard of Jennifer Maker? Have you heard of these other various people that have been helping the community in a while? And, the big thing is like, yeah, but it's a lot of information out there, and we're going to try to see how we can bring it all together, and how we can bring it in one spot. So our goal is to make it simplify things for basically the makers out there. The other thing that we've started to do is we've started to help folks in building websites. So MakerFlow is slowly rolling out an initiative to help folks to build their business website. And the reason we're starting to do that is because we're realizing that a lot of the agencies that are out there in the market right now, they'll come in and they'll tell you need a website, you need to do paid ads, you do this, that, charging absolutely crazy prices. And they're not really being true to what a small business needs a website, like why they need a website and what kind of website they need. And slowly over the years, as I've talked to a lot of small businesses, I see that's one of the biggest issues, because we're all trying to drive traffic. We're all trying to see how we can get that business. And I think a lot of folks are getting unrealistic expectations from agencies and website builders that, hey, if you come in, all it is $1,000, we can do paid ads and you'll get business. Well, it's not that easy, and trying to bring that realism. And so we're trying to getting into sort of building websites and really helping businesses grow the right way without being out capital, right at the get-go. But as far as tools go, for being overstretched, I would say that inventory management is, there's no tool that we really use for this except for making sure that we have trends. We see trends and we're not overbuying. But I wouldn't say I know of a really good tool to help with this. We just have to make sure that we're looking at our numbers and our metrics. I think that's the big one. Make sure you're looking at your bank account. Make sure you're looking at your inventory. If you have too much inventory, make sure you do something with it. If you have it and okay, you made a mistake. See how you can basically make lemonade out of I forget that phrase, but how you could turn that around and how you can turn it into a marketing opportunity instead of turning it into a liquidation opportunity, and try to do things like that. And again, we don't really have a real tool that we use. There's one tool we use, but it's a bit expensive at Makerflow, and it's to help us predict future and this and that. But I don't think it would play very well, for someone that's a smaller business. But I think it's just watching your numbers and knowing your numbers and really understanding your numbers would probably be the number one tool I would tell people. That goes above and beyond any tool that you'll use, is to understand your business.
Yeah, we talk about data a lot.
Yes.
And just, if you're not looking at the numbers can't help you. So
exactly.
You have to be looking at your numbers. And I'm not a numbers person. I mean, I was an English major and now I make crafts. So in no part of this was I ever like, I love numbers. However, I do have to look at the numbers to know what's selling, what's not selling, what was not selling and is selling now, what was selling really well and is not selling now, and those sorts of things. And maybe it's not necessarily that it's not trending anymore. It's that I'm not ranked the same way in Etsy as I was before, or in my website. There's a lot of things that come into that. And we should probably do some more episodes on metrics overall and inventory tracking, because it is a beast. But yes. I think just start diving into the numbers. You don't have to nail it every time, but as long as you're starting to look at the numbers, you'll start to see trends, and that helps a lot.
Yeah, I think in the beginning stages, if you're a smaller business, if you get too much into the tools, you start paying for all these tools that you don't necessarily need because you're trying to figure something out that you don't even know exists. And so I think it's very important to get to your core and understand your business and your numbers. And a couple of things we did when we were sort of in the garage was we hired a bookkeeper. So didn't hire an accountant. We hired a bookkeeper. And we basically just told her hey, come in every 6 months and just hook my business up to QuickBooks, but then you go and run QuickBooks. I don't want to do it because I still don't know how QuickBooks works, right? But I was like, hey, just be my bookkeeper, just do my books, and then let's meet after 6 months and tell me the trends. Tell me what's where am I lacking? Is my cash flow bad? Am I not making enough revenue? Is my cost of goods too high? Is my marketing expense too high? Give me some things you see based on the numbers. Now, I am a finance major, so I kind of love this stuff, but I still did it, believe it or not, because we were so busy. So because I didn't know how to run QuickBooks, but I would definitely implore doing that. Now, if bookkeepers is out of your budget, then this can be for another podcast, but you can use a VA and find a virtual assistant on Fiverr, on something like Upworks or somewhere like that, and have them help you to sort of run your numbers and show you what's up. But I think that's maybe those are a couple of tools that you can use to help you.
Definitely.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, and I feel in the very beginning, you're probably just going to search some free tools, free training on analytics for Shopify, analytics for Etsy. Dive into those YouTube videos at first, and then as you grow, you can start outsourcing some of those things.
Definitely.
100%.
All right, John. Angie is going to look for more questions in the comments. And can you tell us about your tumblers, which I actually have here? I realize this is not going to translate to the podcast, but I have the example of the tumbler because I'm actually drinking out of it. It's kind of hard to see. So these are your tumblers. These are 40 ounce tumblers. Yeah, it's quite large. Here we go. Back up.
Yeah. So what you have there is our 40 ounce tumbler. Oh, you know what? What a fantastic. Actually, I didn't even think of this. I just clicked. Okay, talking about innovation and talking about that question, right? So that's our 40 ounce tumbler. And one of the biggest issues we saw with the 40 ounce tumbler in the market was that you have to unscrew the handle, which means that there's 2 screws. You have to get a screwdriver, whether it's power or not. You got to go in there and screw it, right? And people that were in crafting couldn't do full wraps because, well, you could, but it's not convenient. And the second thing was putting the handles back on apparently is harder than taking it off, or it doesn't go on right? And we're like, okay, how do we solve that? So I don't know, Corey, are you going to do this for me? Are you going to be the model?
There's a whole bunch of water in here, but because
it's okay. If you spill, it's okay.
Thirsty. I'm like a little afraid of doing this. Oh my gosh, I can't even figure out which way it twists now. It doesn't feel like it. There it goes. Okay.
There you go. Okay, so we made it where the handle comes off, and it makes it that much easier for you to sublimate the tumblers or laser engrave them.
So this is just one piece all the way around. It doesn't have the handle on this part.
It doesn't have any notches. It doesn't have anything. Now, the reason my light bulb went on is because this is a great product for the couple of questions we asked. So we came up with this. It's patent pending. And we only came up with it on the 40-ounce tumbler. And we came up with it. We started with very low inventory. We did our surveys. We did our polls. We sent initial tumblers out to people. We kind of got some feedback. Some people were like, we don't like it. A lot of people were like, oh my God, for crafting, this is amazing. And the one thing that I think you have, but maybe you don't have it with you, but we have different handle colors. So you can mix and match. Yeah, you can mix and match handle colors. And all of a sudden this new product was born. Well, the cool thing, and this is something about the innovation, is that we want to do this with all our tumblers, but we only started with the 40-ounce. We could have done it with the 30-ounce, with the 20-ounce skinny. We could have done it with all of it right away. We could have brought all this inventory, right? And this is with innovation. We knew what our core was. We need to first make sure that our customers like it, they can sell it, they can do things that we thought they could do with it. Once we prove that the tumbler is good and people love it, then we'll start expanding it. So we haven't really, said anything about this. It's the first time me saying it. So I hope there's only like 2 people watching. But we're going to be basically coming out with this in our 30-ounce and our 20-ounce skinny. And we're probably going to keep moving on to the other tumbler sizes. So again, even a business like us, we move slow. Doesn't matter how popular it is. I think today we sold out of the black 40-ounce. So, and that's we were being cautious that we are not going to have too much inventory just in case. And now what we're going to do is, as we've proved the tumbler, people like the tumbler. I love the fact Corey came on and said, look, this is our colors. I got the teal and the pink, and I'm like, okay, see, that's data for me. I'm like, all right, she enjoyed some part of it, and I hope that you keep using it and you like it. And it basically validates for me, again, customer feedback. It validates for me like, hey, this is good. We're going to keep replicating it. So, but yeah, that's the 40-ounce tumbler. It's ambidextrous, which is also cool. So it's not only left-handed, but you can actually untwist it, move it 180 degrees and put it back on. It'll go the other way. It's spill proof. The packaging is kind of cool. So you can make it.
Packaging is really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was going to say, I don't have mine because I sublimated some and I already put them in the box for gifts. I love the packaging.
Good.
I really like that you can buy the handle separately, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you wanted to do something like a mix and match bar at your craft fair or whatever, you could do something where you have, maybe I had this all engraved like books and I had, a bunch of different colors. And then I said, okay, pick your handle. And I can spend a little bit more on buying extra handles versus buying whole sets, and then the person can pick whatever, combination that they want. And that's a fun way for somebody to get a really customized product without having to spend, again, a lot of extra money. You just buy the handles.
Yeah. And a lot of the craft fairs, you can even, if you have the capacity and the capability, if you have a laser that you can take with you to the fair, you can actually have a tumbler bar. So you can, like you were saying, you can have the handles, you can have the tumblers, you can have other accessories like toppers and things like that. And you just laser engrave on the spot because they're all powder coated, right? Or another cool thing is if you're doing UV DTF, imagine having a tumbler bar where you can literally, you don't have to customize the tumblers. You have all these prints there. They can come in, they can pick the handle, the color, you UV DTF it right on the spot, and boom, you can customize tumblers on the spot. Hat bar is a thing right now. Shirt bars are a thing. Funnily enough, I haven't seen a tumbler bar. So if anyone's looking for a trend, that they want to try out at their next craft show, that's probably one that you could do.
I sat next to, when I did an event for our library. I mean, it was like literally the best event I probably could have done for my particular niche. And the gal sitting next to me, has a whole bunch of products, but mostly she does a hat bar. So she does and she teaches other people how to do hat bars and like all of this stuff. And I was just like, this is amazing. Like I'd never even heard of a hat bar. And I was like, I teach about crafting for profit, and hat bar has never been something I've even heard of. So now you're the second person to mention hat bar. So it's one of those things that I think is really trendy. I don't wear hats, so I feel like that might be the reason I'm not like in the hat bar scene.
Yeah, I don't either. But yeah, it's super trendy. We were at the Pinners conference a couple of weeks ago, and there were 3 hat bar people, but there's nobody doing a tumbler bar. Just putting it out there. But keep in mind, it is a trend. So don't go deep into it. But maybe if you're doing a craft show, maybe dedicate like a quarter or a little part of your booth for it and try it out and see, if you like it, and then you can slowly transition into other bars. You can maybe do a hat bar and a tumbler bar, or so yeah, try different things and see what you think.
One of the things the hat bar gal said, I really need to get her information. I can't remember what it is, and I'll put it down in the description of the video and in the podcast notes so you can check it out. But one of the things she said that if you are doing a bar of any kind, is that you should also have non-bar products that they can buy separately, which I thought was such a good advice. She's like, because you'll have a set of 3 friends who will come in, 2 of them want to make hats, and then the other one is just standing there. But if you have a whole bunch of other products for her to look at, then she's much more likely to make a purchase. So I know we've gotten well off topic here, but I just thought that was really good. And I think that's true with anything, that maybe you have your like, your make and take, right? Like, so you're making a small project and people are taking it from your booth. Have other products there for people to buy who don't want to do the make and take.
100%. There's always going to be shoppers and, window shoppers, and people just want to shop. So 100%. 100%. I hope you like the tumbler, by the way.
I do like the tumbler.
Okay. And I don't know, Angie, if you just made all yours for gifts or you're using one, but I hope you use one.
So I put them downstairs as gifts, and then I'm slowly debating whether they're all going to be gifts or not. So we'll see.
I like to hear that. I like that.
Yeah. So if you're watching on YouTube, stay tuned for a video from both Corey and I on John's tumblers, actually. So that will be coming.
Uh-oh. Shall we sweating or what?
No sweating at all.
No
it's
sweating.
fine.
Our tumblers don't.
They don't sweat. You're right.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you can find these tumblers. We've made a special link for you. You can get them at link.craftingcamps.com/makerflow. That's MakerFlow. So link.craftingcamps.com/makerflow, and you can get their tumblers and see all of the other amazing products they have. I have to say, I just engraved like your coaster charcuterie board and the smaller serving board. Gorgeous. I mean, like truly, they are so beautiful. And I'm so excited. I made one for my mom for Christmas, and I'm really excited to give it to her. And she's probably watching this. Whoops. Sorry.
She hasn't seen it, but yeah, it's beautiful. I'm so happy you like it.
Yeah.
And then at that link, we have several other favorite products of ours from Makerflow, so you can check out those as well. So if you're not like, I don't need tumblers right now, be sure to go to the link, see the other products that we like from Makerflow. And now we are going to answer some questions from the chat. And I saw this question, and it's a good question. Do you have scrap wood we can test the laser products without messing up a memory box or a cutting board?
John, this is such a good idea.
It's such a good idea.
That's
why I'm pulling it up.
Idea.
It's innovative here, John. So we're going to talk about it.
That is innovative. And the problem with me is I'm trying to figure out how that would work. Unfortunately, I don't have scrap wood. Not that the wood boxes are made out of, because I know that a lot of folks have different laser wattages and it engraves differently. However, there's one thing I'll say about our wood boxes is that you don't need a lot of power. So a lot of speed and less power is good. So if you don't have a high wattage laser, it actually might work in your favor with the box. And if you have a high wattage laser, it's great because it'll be quick. Now, I do like that question, right? And it's all about customer feedback. So I'm going to look into that on how we can service that. That's very interesting. However, I have to be careful because it adds a massive amount of SKUs for us. And but I can definitely look into that. That's a great question because it's a big product. It's a bulky product. And if you could figure out if you can engrave it before committing to it, it would really, help you guys out. So
even if so just a suggestion, even if a small little piece of wood came with it, that was the same thing.
Yeah. Just like a little
scrap wood at the factory.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I will say that I actually engraved your wood boxes. This was like 2 days ago. I had 2 of the large unfinished wood boxes. And then I got a small one as well. And I used the small one as my test because I was too afraid, but the small one was $8. So I did add $8 to, the cost of my project. But I wasn't willing to like sacrifice the larger box. So I sacrificed a small box. And I talk about that in my video as like a way to get around some of these things. But I was so nervous with those cutting boards. If I had had a small piece of that acacia wood to be able to test, I feel like I would have been a lot more comfortable. So yeah, that's a great idea. We're going to make you do that.
Guys, it has been decided.
It has been decided. I think it's a wonderful idea.
You come on the podcast, you get assignments. It's fine.
Okay. No, I like that. I like that a lot. I'll see what I can do about that. It's very interesting. Very interesting. I appreciate that. Yeah.
It's sort of like how with Cricut, they include a piece of polyester fabric in all of their infusible ink so that you can test their infusible ink on that little scrap of polyester before sublimating the full thing on a garment.
Yeah. It's very interesting. I'm trying to think like how logistically it changes everything from packaging to sourcing to
all the things.
And it's a lot of steps that change, but it's totally valuable because if you can get that, then let me.
You could also, instead of including it in the package, it could be an add-on. Like for $1, I want to add on a scrap piece of wood so that I can test. And then it's its own SKU, and you don't have to mess with all the packaging.
Yeah, that's something. I'm trying to think about it. So you got me going here. You got me thinking. I never thought about that. So that's a really good idea. I appreciate it. Yeah. You will probably see something about this. Like it might just take a couple of months because it takes time, but you might see something like this. So whoever's question that was. I appreciate that, and if we ever get to chat sometime, I'll return the favor with some goodness.
All right. Next up, when catching the trend, I need to learn when to get out of that trend before I'm stuck with useless inventory. So, any advice on when to back away from the trend?
Yeah, there's a couple of ways to do this. If you're a smaller business and you're getting into it, and let's say you don't have a lot of cash flow, or let's say you don't have a big giant following where you kind of know trends and things that are happening, go into a trend with the mindset that if it's going to be fleeting, like if it's a Taylor Swift thing and her concert's only for a year, and like, okay, I know this is a year thing, go in it and tell yourself I'm only going to sell 100, or I'm only going to sell a 50, and it's over after that. I know that my capacity is this, and that's what I'm going to stick to. It doesn't matter if the trend keeps going. Because you get on that, you kind of get on that, and then you just forget. And it's always that last purchase that hurts you. Because you're like, okay, I sold 50. Okay, I can get 100. Like, oh my God, okay, I sold 100. I'm gonna get like 200. And be like, oh my God, okay, I sold 200. I'm getting 1,000 now. And the next thing you know, you sell 400 and you're stuck with 600. And that last purchase always bites you. So I think going in it with like a mindset where it's like, okay, I know it's not gonna last very long. I'm going to sell this limited. I'm going to be happy with it. I'm going to charge a good amount. I'm going to get my margin and I'm out. As far as, let's say if you're an existing shop and you're selling a lot, use a method of pricing, because it is a trend. It's going to come and go. Use a method of pricing that you average down your price. So you start out with a little bit of higher margin when it's super hot, and that at the tail end of it, it's going to go down, and you are ready to price it down. And if you do that, you basically, instead of going like this high price and then going like this low price, you're basically going to go like this. And you're going to go at a much, much smoother downtrend, but you know what to expect. You get rid of that inventory, and your average margin and how it ends up. So I would say that's kind of a couple of ways to approach it.
I think once if you see a huge amount of saturation, that's also a key factor. Like if you go to a craft fair and everybody's making tumblers, maybe it's not the best thing to make now. I also feel like when it hits certain stores, like, so if you're all of a sudden what you're making, and because like I said before, ghosts are really trendy, right? And so they've been trendy on Etsy and in handmade products, and they're probably working their way to like Target. And then at some point they're going to be in Walmart. Not that there's anything wrong with Walmart, but they tend to get trends last, right? It takes longer for their product supply lines to make 1 billion ghost t-shirts to sell at $7 each or whatever. And so by the time it has gotten to some of the discount stores, that trend, that's probably at the point where you're like, okay, I can't sell something that's going to, I can't sell a handmade t-shirt with ghosts across it because Walmart's selling the same thing for $7. And obviously they're going to going to beat my price. And so just keep an eye on what is actually, where the trends go. So yes, it's trendy on Etsy, that's fine. But as those trends start to work their way into retail, that's when I think we start backing off of them.
Yeah,
Because then everybody has them, right? Because you're like, oh, now ghosts are really everywhere because everybody has something from Walmart.
yeah, and I like to call those my markers. So I have markers for our supply company that I know that if this and this happen, I know that this is where that product is in its lifetime, basically, right? And so you have a marker for yourself. You're like, okay, if I see that at Walmart, I know that this is going to happen, right? So I think that's a very valid point. But you have to also be careful your markers are right. So you got to keep adjusting them. Like maybe Walmart is too late. Maybe it's like, oh my God, if it's at Walmart, like I'm way too late. Maybe you need to find an earlier marker. Maybe you find different website. Like I love going to Amazon Handmade and Etsy and seeing how products progress and how specific listing reviews progress. So if I go to a listing and I see that, wow, this charcuterie board listing has 65,000 reviews. Well, it's probably like on the downtrend. It's exhausted its lifetime as a product of being a trendy product. So those are kind of a couple of metrics. So I have my own markers, but yeah, that's the Walmart thing. Like I've been seeing more. I feel like Walmart buyers, they're like in our groups now, because I feel like some of these trends are coming on way too soon. Like how do they know this is even happening? So anyways, that's another day.
And this may be the last question here. Can you list the settings for different lasers on your site, even with user input?
Yes, actually, what a fantastic question. And this is part of the leap that I was talking about. So if you actually go on our True Flat listing, that's one of the first listings that we've worked on and changed. And that listing actually has that listing is the first listing that we have done where it lists out all the sublimation and laser engraving settings, not only for Glowforge, but also for lasers up to, I think, 100 or 150 watts. So it goes by like 10 watts and it tells you like where to start off with. And our goal is to start doing that more and more with every single listing with settings, whether it's sublimation, laser engraving, UV resin, epoxy. We want to put something as far as how to get started and how to get going with it. So we are working on it. It's just a massive, it's a lot of work because each product has like almost 20 or 30 data points. So it's thousands of data points that we have to not only gather, but we have to somewhat test a few and then put them on the website. So yes, that is being worked on. And if you're somebody that wants to provide your settings, you think you have something nailed or you have something down, feel free to message us. Or funnily enough, at the end, you put even with user input. So we're actually working on our website to do exactly that, where you'll be able to message us with your settings. So we're working on it's being worked on. It just takes a lot of time to kind of input it on the website, but we're working on a way where users can come in and basically let us know like, hey, I have this machine, I have this wattage, just my settings that work. And then we'll be more than happy to input that as the settings. So great question. And yes, it's on the way.
I love it. And if you guys are laser crafters, definitely check out their True Flat wood. It's truly flat. I mean, like, that's the whole thing. I've cut it. It is really amazing to cut. And one of the things I liked about it is that I cut it without a masking, and then I just baby wiped all of the charring off. And I was like, oh, I don't have to mask this. And it was brilliant. So if you are a laser crafter, you should check it out.
Absolutely.
It is on our favorite things list as well.
Awesome.
All right. So we're just going to highlight this comment, last one. And it's just about your awesome customer service. So MakerFlow also has awesome customer service. John himself got on the phone with me when I was having a problem with my tumblers sublimating and tried troubleshooting with me after I bought 4 cases. So just like a testimonial. So just a testimonial to your amazing customer service.
Well, awesome. I appreciate it. And I called. I hope I was helpful. Otherwise, I know 2 people that are very good at sublimating. Just FYI. But I really appreciate it. We're all about customer service, and so I hope everyone feels that through and through. And if you don't for any reason, just let me know. But we have some great customer service folks, Stephen and Mel as well, that are very helpful. And we call Stephen the king of sublimation. So he's so knowledgeable about it. So, but I really appreciate it. Thanks for the sentiment.
All right. So thank you so much, John. I think we can wrap it up. Please make sure to check out Makerflow at makerflow.com or go to link.craftingcamps.com/makerflow to see all of our favorite products. Our next episode, which is going to be our last episode of the year because we're taking one of our episodes off really close to Christmas, is with Jessica Castellini from JC Boutique. Jessica makes all sorts of personalized gifts, and we're going to be chatting with her specifically about white toner printing. So we've covered sublimation, we've covered DTF printing, we've covered a bunch of different specific types of crafting. So we're going to be talking about white toner crafting and white toner printing in our next episode. That episode will be live on YouTube on December 5th, and then the podcast on December 9th. Again, then we're taking basically 4 weeks off before we start for our new episodes in January. After that, we might be changing up the format just a little bit, so we will let you know about that. But if you want all the details about what we are doing, what episodes are coming up, you can sign up for our newsletter either below the YouTube video or in the podcast notes.
And if you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to subscribe to Crafting for Profit Live so you never miss an episode, and share this episode with your friends because they might need to know how to expand their product line without breaking the bank. And this would be an amazing episode to text them. Don't forget to leave us a rate and review. It really helps more crafty entrepreneurs just like you with their small